so let's talk about what makes a good Eviolite Pokemon. So, what does make a good Eviolite Pokemon? Well, first of all, the one thing that an Eviolite Pokemon has to do is it has to be able to take the hits and be worth the Eviolite item. Because you can only run one Eviolite Pokemon on a team, unless you're crazy like me and decide to run 6 Eviolites on one team, in which case, by all means, pick whatever you want. But in any case, since we're talking mostly about competitive, we're going to talk about what makes a good Eviolite Pokemon. So the first example we're going to show here is the Porygon 2, one of the prime examples of what a good Eviolite Pokemon can do. So, first of all, what Porygon 2 offers is a very, very powerful set of defenses naturally. Porygon 2 naturally has a very high defense stat of 90 and a very powerful special defense stat of 95. Without much investment, you don't need to give Porygon a lot of help to actually make it be able to take hits. And so when you give it the Eviolite item, that increases its defensive stats by about like 50%, by about half of what they are total. So you with this this relaxed natured Porygon 2, with maximum special defense, max special attack, and remaining 4 into the defense, you can go however you want. You can give this Porygon 2 an extra 70 for example, an extra 70 stats into the special defense category, and an extra 60 into its physical defense stats. So that brings it all the way up to 180 or so for physical defenses, and 210 for Porygon 2 special defense. So that makes it able to take hits really, really well. And then you combine it with its stats, or not with its stats, with its move pool. For example, a Trick Room, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Recover Porygon 2. This makes it so that it can take any hit, and provided it's not hit by a taunt, it can be able to get the Trick Room off and be able to deal some massive damage with its Ice Beam and Psychic attacks, or even just recover. So that's what Porygon 2 offers. That is what a good Eviolite Pokemon can do. Now the next example of what an Eviolite Pokemon can do is it disrupts and ruins your opponent's day. So for example, I found that Charger Bug, I believe one of my tacticians makes use of the Charger Bug really, really well. And so I decided to try it out myself, and it really does a lot of good things. It can do a lot of good things. So this got me thinking about what Charger Bug can do. So as an Eviolite Pokemon, it has a really powerful defense stat. It could do a little bit better with its special defense stat, but with the Eviolite, it can really give itself some strength. And of course, Charger Bug can go for a charge if it wants to increase its special defensive stat. Or in this case, I put a light screen on just for the sake of helping out the team. And for what it can do, it disrupts my opponent's strategy, and it disrupts what they want to do by going for String Shots, Electro Web for damage, and Thunder Wave to paralyze and slow my opponent down. So what this Charger Bug wants to do is slow my opponent down. It doesn't want to mess with the field very much. It wants to slow my opponent's Pokemon down as much as possible to allow my team to do what they want to do, to go first, for example. So that is another thing that makes a good Eviolite Pokemon. Not only can it take hits now because of the Eviolite, it can now disrupt my opponent's strategy and mess with how fast I want to move. Another thing that a good Eviolite Pokemon can do is either help out my team, for example, making them, sturdier, make them be able to take more hits, or just, disrupt my opponent's attack plans. In this case, Clefairy's with the Follow Me. Classic Clefairy with the Follow Me with the Friend Guard makes it so that not only does it take less damage alongside its allies, with the Eviolite, Clefairy becomes super, super tanky. Clefairy doesn't have a very powerful set of defenses, but combined with the Eviolite and the Friend Guard, it can take a lot of hits if it just has that chance up. So for the Bold Nature Clefairy that doesn't want to deal any damage, it maxes out its defenses and gives itself some more HP. You can mess with the EVs around if you want, but what this Clefairy wants to do is support the team in some way. So it's got some damage with the Dazzle and Gleam, but it's not supposed to be doing damage. It doesn't want to deal damage. It wants to disrupt the opponent's attack plans with the Follow Me, redirect all attacks towards it, and if, like, say my opponent, puts a status condition, the heal bell will be able to heal up all those status conditions, and of course it can self-regenerate with the moonlight. So that is what this Clefairy wants to do. That's another thing that makes the Eviolite very, very effective. Now, what else can the Eviolite do? So, again, we're going to look at the Togetic here for the Follow Me, for example, but what Eviolite can do is allow a Pokemon to be able to run moves that it normally couldn't do without the aid of the Eviolite. So, for example, Togetic is a very, very powerful defensive Pokemon, and it doesn't have a lot in the way of physical attacks, especially speed, but what it can do now thanks to the Eviolite is be able to absorb attacks and set itself up in some way. So for example, this Togetic, it wants to set up the Tailwind, it wants to go for Follow Me to disrupt the opponent, it can Roost to regenerate, and most importantly, because it has the Serene Grace, it can go for the Tri-Attack. It can use the Tri-Attack to either paralyze, I believe it's freeze, or burn my opponent in some way. So that is what this Togetic wants to do. A combination of supporting the team and disrupting the opponent in one way or another. That's what the Eviolite Pokemon have to do. They either have to be able to take the hits and hurt the opponent in some way, or benefit your team in some way. Now, you can get away with an Eviolite item on a Pokemon like, say, Dragonair, for example, that wants to set up a Dragon Dance. Because it wants to outspeed its opponent and, set up these Dragon Dances. Pokemon that can make use of the Eviolite by setting up, for example, Dragonair can't really take a lot of hits. But with the Eviolite, it can take a few more hits, and I forgot to actually put the Eviolite item on this one. So there we go, so we're just going to put that really quick, just so everyone knows what I'm doing here with this Dragonair. We're not going for Focus Sashes, we're going for Eviolite, we're going for Sustain, we're going to deal as much damage as we can. We're going to set up the Dragon Dance, we're going to go for Waterfalls, we're going to go for Extreme Speeds, we're going to go for Dragon Rushes, and we're just going to have a good old time. And if the opponent tries to status us in some way, well, in this case, Dragonair can use its Marvel Scale ability to increase its defensive power even more because of that. So that is what Eviolite Pokemon can do. You can get away with certain Eviolite Pokemon if they're trained to do that. But in this case, my Dragonair is meant to sweep, so it's gonna take some more hits, maybe like one extra hit or two. I've seen my Dragonair survive an Ice Beam, for example, and it's been able to do a lot of crazy things. Now, what you don't want to use the Eviolite for are Pokemon that just can't really make use of the Eviolite. So for example, I have a Braixen here. I'm going to put Braixen up because it has some decent special defensive power, but it doesn't have a lot in the defense category. So Braixen doesn't make use of the Eviolite item very well. But it can sort of get away with it, not very much so, because of the Will-O-Wisp combination and the Flamethrower power. So if the Pokemon can make use of the Eviolite in some way, benefiting with its moves, then it can sort of get away with it. But you don't want to use it for Pokemon like Braixen that have really, really poor defense stats, like say for the 58 defense stat. And because I've trained this particular Braixen for special defenses, etc., it can't make use of the Eviolite item very well. Despite the Will-O-Wisp being able to burn and weaken physical attacks, Braixen just can't take physical attacks very well. So putting an Eviolite on Braixen isn't the smartest choice, but if you don't have any other choices, like say you don't have any of the other choices I mentioned in this little video, then at the least you can do is give it some kind of help. In this case, giving it the Will-O-Wisp for the chance to burn the opponent, so it can absorb those attacks more, and give it the ability to make use of its ability, which in this case is Blaze. So increasing its firepower as it gets weaker and weaker, that would actually help it out very well. And giving it like some extra help, like say with the light screen, can actually make it use of the Eviolite item. The point of this video is to show you Pokemon that can make use of the Eviolite and be able to be worth their weight on the team, because the Eviolite item is a very powerful item, but it has a very, very narrow set of uses. It has to do something for your team or something against the opposing team to make it worth the 6 slots on your team. You only have 6 Pokemon, you only have 6 items. That narrows your options down, so you have to make sure that each item you give your Pokemon is worth the slot you give it. So I hope you guys learned a thing or two about the Eviolite item, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two just in general. And I will see you tacticians next time. Bye bye!
When you've reached the point where you can't go on, just come to me, you'll be safe from harm. If you trust in me, then I'll trust in you. There's nothing more that I need to do. If you put your hands in front of mine, we'll be shining through one